Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I am excited. I actually had this idea for this video a couple mornings ago. I was laying in bed and I was like, I should do that. And so since we are still in Vegas and I have some time to just get content done, get some of these fun like sit down let's chat videos recorded, doesn't matter where I am, just that we can sit and chat and I can share some advice, tips, things that have come to my mind that I've been wanting to share for a while. We have that time to do it, and I figured why not do it? A little get ready with me while we talk about the things that grad school didn't teach me. There are three main things, depending on how chatty I am. We'll at least get three, okay? I promise you three. So just to preface, these are things that I have either kind of learned through my own experience, through my own last seven, almost 8 years of experience post-graduate school, or maybe they're things that have been asked before and I've just had the time to reflect and think about them. So I wanted to start with the very best lesson I've ever learned as a speech language pathologist. This has been the most important for me as I strive to find life-work balance and as I share more about finding that life-work balance, because this isn't necessarily, the lesson itself isn't subjective. Now, what comes after the lesson is more subjective and personal to you. Being a speech language pathologist doesn't mean that you stop being you. Yes, it's a really big role, and yes, in your first years, or even before that during grad school, as SLP or SLP to be, you might feel like your world needs to revolve around it, but they didn't teach me in grad school that it actually doesn't, and it should not revolve around being only a speech language pathologist. It actually wasn't until I was in my third year in the schools that this really kind of I cracked. And really what had happened was I was burning out really quickly throughout the school year because I was so invested in everything that I was in being a speech language pathologist. And I got to a point where I didn't feel like I knew if I could do it, you know, essentially because there was nothing else that I was allowing myself to do outside of it, if that makes sense. I was tired of the role itself, and I realized through just a lot of reflection, a lot of journaling, that I wasn't giving myself the time, or I wasn't even giving of myself to the things that I quite frankly enjoyed outside of being an SLP. There's so much that I enjoy about being a speech language pathologist, but if it gets to the point where you're like, I don't enjoy those things anymore, well, maybe you need to take a step back and kind of evaluate. Now, in some cases, it's not necessarily, it's just that you have a change of heart, change of mind, and that's perfectly fine too. But sometimes it could just be that you haven't been giving of yourself in other areas in what makes you you. You know, the things that you enjoyed doing before going to grad school. I'm gonna say I loved my grad program. I would highly recommend it, but I know a lot of grad programs either say this explicitly or they at least insinuate that you shouldn't have a second job. You know, grad school's your job, that's your life. And that was something I felt I needed to lie about. You know, I was working in a restaurant. I had to put myself through school. Everybody has, you know, different situations, but like that was it. So I felt like I was lying. You know, people would ask what I do on the weekends. I say, oh, I studied. Like, you know, that's what we're all doing, right? And really, I was working at a restaurant, and I was so afraid somebody was gonna like come into that restaurant and figure me out. And first of all, it was not the truth. You can have a job, and if you need to have a job, have your job. I'm also very grateful for that job retrospectively because it kept me social. It kept me thinking about things that weren't speech pathology related. Yes, grad school was rigorous and hard, but I got through it while also having a job. But that whole mentality of kind of giving your whole life to grad school and to this role was not healthy. And I didn't learn until a few years after grad school that you don't have to have that mentality. So if there's things you love doing that you don't feel like you've been giving yourself the permission to do, or you haven't had the time to do, how can you carve that time out? How can you take a step back and allow yourself to do those things? Something that I recently started doing again, which if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen, I have let myself kind of dip my toe back into one of my hobbies of baking that I've always loved doing. It's very soothing and calming to me. I wouldn't want to do that as a job and do it every day, but it is something that fills my soul and like makes me happy. And so I've been doing that more, or I do my improv classes to kind of have that weekly moment to step outside of myself as a speech language pathologist. Things like not checking my work email outside of work time hours, or like there's all kinds of things, big and small, that can help you take those steps in order to do you. You are more than an SLP, and I hope that this resonates with at least one person out there. Hold on, I can't do anything on my eyes while like actually trying to have a thought, so let me finish curling my lashes. The second thing I don't feel I thoroughly learned in grad school. Now, some people might come at me for saying this and be like, I knew this, I learned this, but I didn't fully embrace this until, again, probably until I started letting go of that need to just fully be an SLP in everything that I do and allow myself to find that life-work balance. But this one is actually probably my favorite. You're allowed to have fun in your job. Okay, of course, early intervention, language, play-based therapy, all like ARTIC, you know, school age, whatever. Of course, it can all be fun. And in those sessions, you're like, no, I do have fun. I have fun. But like, what about all the other areas? What about the report writing? What about the assessments? What about the IEP meetings if you're school-based like me? Are you having fun with those too? I didn't know I could have fun in those aspects of my job. Those, to me, it felt like I had to compartmentalize. You know, yeah, I can have fun in the therapy, but like obviously I have to be super serious and not have fun when it comes to those things, which they are serious things. So something I realized about making like basic human connections, when we're connecting with other people, whether we've known them, whether we, you know, are just meeting them for the first time, like parents maybe in an IEP or in an assessment, we want to connect. If we're allowing ourselves to kind of have fun, be playful, seek the joy and the enjoyment of making these connections, or of even writing a report, like if we're looking for that joy, it does make things, one, more fun, and two, we want to continue to do them again and again because they are going to come up again and again. So yes, while in grad school, maybe I learned, you know, how to make a therapy session fun, how to follow a child's lead and incorporate their interests, and, you know, finding those moments where we can connect and laugh together, clinician to client. I don't feel like I was given the permission to bring those kinds of things into all the aspects of our job. Because yes, while an assessment is a super important, it's a serious thing, so is that therapy session. But the point is we're seeking to learn, we're seeking to grow, we're seeking to connect. Sorry, didn't give you enough time to fill in that blank. But that's my point, is like we're allowed to like tell the joke. One of my favorite things that I try to do in an IEP, whether it's an initial, I was just doing a bunch of initials this summer and I had more experience with that, or whether it's an IEP for a student you've been working with for a few years. And of course you can take IEP and replace that with a conference or anything like that if you're not in the schools. The point is my little goal is to always tell a sweet story about my time with the child, or maybe it's something silly that they did. The point is that I want families to understand, like, I'm here building a relationship with your child. Therefore, I'm, you know, seeking to have a relationship and build that connection and rapport with you. It matters to me. You matter to me. And I want to have you enjoy this situation as much as I'm seeking to enjoy it. So let's have a good time. Let's make the IEP less about, you know, just spewing information and technical things, and make it about having a conversation and learning together. If you need to have a mindset shift when writing a report or something and think of it like, you know, a detective moment, do it, enjoy it, be playful with it, have snacks and make that the fun moment. Just have fun, okay? You're allowed to. And again, I learned how to have fun in therapy sessions in grad school. I'm not saying that I didn't know that, but I didn't learn how to do it all. There's your second lesson. All right, the third lesson. I said the last one was my favorite, and the first one is arguably the most important, but it's hard because this one is also one of the most important to me, which is probably why I'm sharing them in this video. The third lesson, it's okay to not know everything. If you're a new SLP, if you're an SLP to be, or if you're like 10 years out, maybe you just need this reminder that if you don't know something, that's actually one of the biggest gifts you can have as a clinician. One, because then it's an opportunity to learn. Two, our field is constantly changing. There's constantly new research. There is always something that we can learn how to do better. And our job, our role is making connections with individual clients. They're individual clients. They all have different things that they bring to the table when we're in our sessions with them. So how could we possibly know everything? We don't. And it's actually so exciting that we don't, because our job can literally never get boring, as far as I'm concerned. I just love that my role as an SLP has really shifted in my own eyes because I find it exciting that I don't need to know everything. In fact, I find it exciting when I don't know something, I try something, make a mistake, and I'm like, well, now I know what not to do. Here's a quick story time for you. My CF year, while I am so grateful for it, and I learned so much, and I'm so grateful for the mentors that I had that year, this isn't anything against them. This is completely me and who I was at the time and my need to be a perfectionist. I did not want to ask for help. And that made my clinical fellowship year extremely hard. Like, I look back on that time and I'm like, it could have been so fluid because I had such great supports, but I was in my head all the time thinking, well, I graduated, well, I have the best knowledge, I have to be able to execute. Look, our roles as SLPs are important. They're so important. We play a big role for our clients in their communication and their quality of life. But it's not an exact science, one. And yeah, they're big roles, but like, we don't have to take them so seriously to the point that we're in our head thinking we can't ask for help. Does that make sense? I think the most beautiful thing about being a speech pathologist is that we have other speech pathologists to collaborate with. We don't even have other speech pathologists at the end of the day. We have other professionals and individuals, families that we get to ask, phone a friend with. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the teachers I work with, occupational therapists, and just sought support, even like run therapy ideas by them just to see what they think, because sometimes they know things about the kids or they know things about the families that I haven't quite learned that really help. I just spent an entire school year getting trained and certified to be able to assess students who might need alternative communication devices and be able to help implement them with their teams and like follow up and all of that. Throughout that process, while I knew I was getting a certification to be somewhat of like an expert in that realm of everything, I was like, I'm not gonna leave here just completely with all the answers. I'm still gonna be learning. I'm still gonna get to work with kids who are going to be my best teachers in all of this. And then I can apply, I can go back to the binder and check those resources. I can call my mentor and be like, hey, like, I don't know. And it's okay. One of my favorite things to actually tell parents in meetings, or even the teachers, when we're talking about children's progress or maybe how we're gonna implement things for them, is that, the students, the kids, my clients, they're my best teachers. Also, something I don't know as a 33-year-old who has been doing her makeup since 18 years old, I still don't know how to do my eyebrows appropriately. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, how I'm supposed to be doing them. I actually remember like every moment of graduation day, because that entire day I was so almost baffled that they were allowing me to be like done with the program. I was very surprised with myself that I was able to pass my comprehensive exams. And when we were walking across the stage, I was behind my friend Emily. So as we were getting ready to walk across the stage, I turned to my friend and I'm like, what did we even learn? How are they allowing us to walk across the stage and then go into our jobs? And she was like, if we learned anything, we learned where to go when we don't know. And that has always stuck with me. And it didn't take me until the end of my CF year to really like let that one sink in, but it would have made my life a whole lot easier that first year if I just opened up to the idea that I didn't have to know everything. I don't have to take eons of work home to figure it out myself versus just call my mentor or ask the SLPs around me for the answers, you know? Because I would go home and I would research, and I'm like, I could have just asked, and it's totally okay to ask. You don't have to know everything. You shouldn't know everything. You're a growing human. It'll make you better as a clinician to ask for the help or to ask for the answers. So that's your third lesson. And there we are. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk and letting me ramble about the 3 lessons that I learned outside of grad school. I'm so grateful for my program and the things I learned there, but it took some life and applying the things that I learned to really learn the rest. And of course, there's more things that have come and are still, you know, coming up in terms of that learning and growth, but these are just 3 of them. So I hope you found that helpful. If there's any other questions you have, anything you want me to do a like lengthy chatty video on in terms of SLP tips, things that you might need a little bit of extra guidance in, please drop those in the comments. I would love to just help you with where you're at, or if you want to see anything in particular, like let me know. I'm happy to show it. Happy you're here. Excited to see you next. And until then, have a good one. Bye.